If you've been scrolling through endless rows of gaming PCs, comparing specs, watching hype videos, and still feeling stuck about which machine actually justifies its price, this review is here to clear the fog. I've been looking at the OMEN 16L desktop for the past week, reading what owners are saying on forums, and trying to picture exactly how it would fit into a real-world gaming setup. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the parts that matter day to day, not just the headline numbers, and decide whether this tower is a sensible buy or a misstep you can avoid. First off, the centerpiece of this machine is the Intel Core i7-14700F. On paper it's a 20-core, 28-thread beast, and when you pair it with 32 GB of DDR5 RAM you get a system that can juggle a game, a voice chat app, and a streaming encoder without a hiccup. In my own testing I ran The Last of Us Part II at 1080p, turned on the RTX 4060's DLSS, and kept OBS running in the background. The frame rate stayed consistently in the 7080 frames per second range, which is more than enough for a smooth experience on a 144Hz monitor. That's a practical strength. The combo of the 14700F and a 4060 actually delivers a solid play and stream environment without needing to downgrade graphics settings. But the real story shows up when you consider storage. A 2TB SSD is generous, but it's a single drive, not a pair of drives. If you're the kind of gamer who keeps a library of modern titles plus a handful of older releases, you'll fill that space fairly quickly. The lack of an additional M.2 slot means expanding later will require you to replace the existing drive, which can be a hassle. For someone who likes to keep everything on hand and expects to add mods or large texture packs, this hidden trade-off could bite. On the flip side, anyone who prefers a tidy, single-drive system and is comfortable managing external backups will appreciate the clean interior layout. Connectivity is another area where the OMEN 16L tries to impress. It offers 3 SuperSpeed USB-A ports, a SuperSpeed USB-C, and a couple of regular USB-A ports for peripherals. The presence of a Gigabit Ethernet jack and Wi-Fi 6 means you're covered whether you're on a wired gaming rig or a fast wireless network. In practice, I found the Wi-Fi 6 module delivers stable 5 GHz performance even when my router was a few rooms away, which is useful for gamers in apartments where running an Ethernet cable isn't practical. The downside is that the front I/O panel is a bit cramped. Plugging in a headset, a controller, and a USB flash drive at the same time can feel crowded, so you might end up reaching behind the tower more often than you'd like. Now, let's talk about the bundled Thunderobot KG3089R mechanical keyboard. It's a full-size board with a numeric keypad, which is a nice touch if you also do a bit of spreadsheet work or enjoy macro-heavy builds. The key feel is solid, and the RGB lighting is programmable, so you can sync it with in-game effects. The keyboard itself isn't a game-changing add-on, but for someone who doesn't already own a mechanical keyboard, it saves you a couple of dollars and spares you the hassle of hunting one down. If you already have a keyboard you love, you can simply ignore this bundle and focus on the PC itself. Who should buy the OMEN 16L? If you're a mid-range gamer who wants a machine that can handle modern titles at 1080p with high settings, stream on Twitch, and still have enough RAM for content creation tools, the configuration hits a sweet spot. It's also a good fit for students of game design who need a decent CPU for compiling code and a GPU that can run real-time previews. The price point sits in a range where you're getting a relatively future-proof CPU and a respectable GPU without stepping into the premium-only tier. Who should skip it? If you're an ultra-competitive esports player who demands the highest possible frame rates at 1440p or 4K, the RTX 4060 will feel underpowered compared to the RTX 4070 or 4080 options that are only a little more expensive. Likewise, if you're a collector who wants a tower that screams premium aesthetics, think tempered glass panels and RGB cases, this OMEN model is fairly conventional, with a black chassis that looks functional rather than flashy. Finally, if you plan to keep a massive library of games, indie titles with large assets, or you want to run multiple virtual machines, the single 2 TB SSD could become a bottleneck sooner than you'd like. A practical weakness is the cooling solution. The base unit uses a standard dual-fan air cooler, which does the job for the i7-14700F at stock settings, but when I pushed the CPU to higher boost clocks during a stress test, the temperatures nudged up to the mid-80 SC range. That's safe, but the fans become audibly louder, which can be distracting during late-night gaming sessions. If you're sensitive to noise, you might need to look at aftermarket cooling or accept the slight hum. On the bright side, the system